Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the February 27th, 2023 meeting at the Rotary Club of Raleigh. John Packer, your president. And we have a lot on the agenda today. We've had a great day, and we're really looking forward to our speaker at the end of the day. But we have a lot to get through, and it looks like we have a forum yesterday too. So we want to meet in a couple minutes. But as we always do, we'll start out with an invitation for our event today. And Patty Green, Pastor Patty, would you care to come up and start us off?
If you've been with us last couple of weeks, I've been reflecting on the Rotary vision statement. And that began with the word together, which we reflected upon, and the words we see. The next word is we see a world. We see a world. And that's perhaps a good way to put it, because we don't know whether this is the only world with the big cosmos around, but it is a world. It's the only world we have. If you're old enough to remember, when the astronauts and cosmonauts first started flying, the first time they gave us a picture, an image of that amazing globe hanging in the darkness of space. A remarkable, remarkable picture. That's our world. When we return to being entrusted with this world, in fact, we made some promises to this world, promises that we did ask to keep, promises to care for the environment of this world, promises to care for the people who live in this world. This is our only world that we have. So part of our call, part of our charge, part of our responsibility in which areas is to consider how we might indeed serve this world of ours. For it is the world that God has given us. For that we say, thanks be to God. Amen.
Amen. Please stand and try to believe it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, beautiful for space, for and for ways of grace, for majesty, it's grace on thee. See to shining city. Right members who is visiting today. I can start over. We have returning visitors who spoke to us earlier this program year. Mary. Yeah. Welcome back. Welcome back. Just the fact that they come to you. Okay.
I'm Katie.
Okay, Katie, what do you do, Katie?
I'm the camp manager of Comfort Zone Camp. We are a nonprofit organization that provides overnight weekend experiences for children who have experienced death of parents, sibling, or primary caregiver, or significant person in their life.
Great, well, it's good to have you.
Thank you.
And maybe Kevin's going to. See, Richard, Everett, I think there's some, I don't know if they're yours, but there's a guest at your table. Can you help coordinate that? Yeah, 2 or 3.
Everyone, my name is Veronica Morrison. Fairly new to Raleigh, North Carolina, New Jersey. Prior to really bit myself, I've always been in the insurance industry. But since moving to North Carolina, I'm doing North Carolina Rover, so I can buy and sell homes. And I also have my own insurance agency, Capital Life Homes, and really don't get out much, so I'll be. Nobody needs insurance, I'm your dad.
Thanks very much. Yes, sir.
My name is Caleb. I'm the owner of China Esports Academy, where I hands-on gaming, esports, and STEM education, youth development and company. And we all know what esports is, that's competitive video gaming. And then I'm also executive for a nonprofit, China Esports Alliance, and that's to help be able to provide access to youth with autism, access youth, and youth in underserved communities.
Great, thanks, guys. And, face time, for once it's like before, if you want to. Let's stand up and read it.
My name is Chase, it's not visiting, I want to go ahead and put an application in. I'm looking for, I'm gonna go for free is, one fifty days, and there's, we're going to put on a lot of events and all that kind of stuff, and it's got to do all that, and just be able to show up, and where to go, and what to do, you don't need to do grants.
Okay, very good. And between Randy's rights, we have a guest, I believe.
Hi, I'm Faye Hilbert, and I'm very excited to be here today. I've never been to Rotary before, but my grandmother was very involved in Texas. And she started doing program in the state of Texas, amazing things. But I'm fairly new here to Raleigh, been here 3.5 years, but we're just kind of getting it all a better friend. And I am an estate planning and tax attorney by background.
And the people who really mentioned during the membership portion, first meetings and what. But we have a couple of guests, I'm sorry, moving around, we have one more guest from this table back there. You dare to introduce yourself, sir?
Hey, I'm Ian Philip. Came to North Carolina from Michigan, from Ohio, to Michigan. Been here for wait. Came in Michigan, where I was a member of the Rotary Club of Chelsea, Michigan. For those of you from Michigan, that would be over on here. Recently retired as VP of Government Relations for healthcare firm based out of Kingston. And my wife and I live downtown Raleigh, and it's time to bring the voters.
Oh, super, we're glad you're here, thank you. And sir, in the third here.
Hi, my name is Chuck Underwood, actually born and raised in Raleigh. I have a company called Metro Productions. We're integrated marketing and communications firm that basically means we help clients till their current web video project. So I have 3 kids. They are all going to college. I went to college and I was getting ready to go to college, so I have some time on my hands to get out and get involved, and so that's why and I've always heard of Rotary and Rotary, so it's not
Okay, great job. Here, stand up and introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Sam Dees. I'm working from Pembroke, North Carolina. I work at the North Carolina Administrative Office of the Court in file court. And I'm looking for ways to get involved, get back, get out there more. Seems like that's a great way to do that.
Okay, super. I get the red buckets and all the tables for people who are here for the first time. One of our members, our company members, is the Dementia Alliance of North Carolina, and the change we put in these red buckets for the monopoly money. If you don't have change or dollar bills, you can write a denomination and put it in the bucket. Goes towards that. And that's up over the year, and so please keep that in mind. We're going to let's get $90 for the moment. I did want to mention our upcoming meetings, that we, check out. Next week, March 6th, we're having a club, we can talk about train wrecks, avoid them. It's an amazing story, really. And then, I did want to emphasize, though, we're having off-site meeting on March 13th. One of the prime members is Randy Woods, Chancellor of North Carolina State University. And he'll be our featured speaker, and it'll be at the NC State campus. However, because of their catering situation, they need to know our head count by next Monday, it's a full week ahead of the meeting. So this afternoon, an e-bike invitation will go out for that meeting. And tomorrow morning, we'll get an e-bike invitation for the March 6th meeting. So be alert for 2 e-bike invitations coming out. This afternoon, though, is for the meeting with Randy Woodson. So please RSVP if you're going to come to it, so we can have a head count by next Monday. And then March 20th, we have a state senator who will not talk politics. We'll down about interesting India and its growing business and cultural influence in the time. Last Saturday, we had the district 7710. That's a Rotary district that basically oversees the 50 or 55 clubs in the center portion of the state. We had what's called an assembly. Basically, it's district leaders coming up and talking about what they're doing, what their committees are doing, what the district is doing. And one of the featured speakers was our own Patty Rooney at the bottom of the red area. We talked about foundation issues and raising money for the. And we had a handful of us back there. It was Thursday morning to learn what's going on in the district. But I'll give you a picture of Patty in action. And Tommy, are you ready for the neighbor? We are. I'm taking a week off. We had such a busy meeting last time. Tommy is ready to resume our nosy neighbor feature where we get to know in personal detail one of our members.
Surprise the first but today's news neighbor is David Forrest. David, come on up. If you guys don't already know David, you know, I was a Rotarian straight out of college. Always loved Rotary, joined in 03. My old boss had a saying, he said, you've got to circulate to percolate. That meant you gotta leave here and go find somebody to talk to. When I moved up here to Raleigh, I knew I needed a Rotary Club. I talked to David, he's one of the first people, and he invited me here, and I've been here ever since. So if you like having me here, thank David. If you don't, then see him outside. That being said, David, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about work and what you do for a living. And come on up to the mic. I'm going to step this time.
All right, hi folks. My name is David Forrest. For work, I work for Fidelity Bank, which is a local proudly held bank. Founded as bank of Pequay in 1909. I like to say that we actually dominate the skylines of both downtown Pequay and downtown Cary with our 3-story buildings. And what I do, probably 90% of my time is spent financing what we would call commercial owner occupied buildings, which is business owners who want to buy buildings for their own companies. I can do anywhere from a $200,000 office condo to a max out of $52 million.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. And yeah, so David grew up in the eastern part of the state. He's a farm boy. He taught me personally what a pack house was, and I knew what that meant. If you're from North Carolina, maybe you know what that means. But David, can you tell us a little bit about growing up on the farm in the eastern part of the state and your experiences out there?
Yeah, sure. We have a family farm that is near the town or crossroads of Stapleton, North Carolina. Is there anyone who knows where Stapleton is? I'm not surprised. There's only about 50 people there and yeah, anyway. It is in Greene County, which is kind of the midpoint of Greenville and Kinston. We have a family farm there that we've had since 1797. My family actually lived there prior to, but it was payment to my ancestor for his service in the Revolutionary War. So, lots of history, some that I would share and some that I would not.
Very good. David and I drove through Scotland one. Get there, he said, you missed it. So, also, David, speaking of pride and joy conversation in your life, 2 kids, wonderful children. Why don't you tell us a little bit about family life?
Yeah, I've got 2. I have a daughter named Katie and son named Zach. Katie is a senior at state. She's following the path of her both her parents and her grandfather and a great grandfather actually. So that's why we only breed red and white in the household. Second child is Zach. He's my son. He's a sophomore at Millbrook High School. And something fun, have a fun fact. So my daughter's dream has always been to be a veterinarian. Took her to the open house that they have at vet school at age 4, and ever since then, that's what she's wanted. She has worked very hard and actually done everything possible to get into vet school. She's a senior in animal science now, and we just learned recently, maybe on Facebook, that she actually got into vet school. Yeah, Tom said you're happy about that, but what kind of neat way to tie in this and our farm's history is my great-great-grandfather was Jesse Tom Forrest, and I'm not sure if he was a Senate, a comic, or if he was ran out of the names to name his children, because if his ninth was my great-grandfather, who was named Dr. Roy Forrest. Dr. Roy Forrest finished high school. His legal name on the birth certificate was Dr. Roy Forrest. He actually walk around the streets saying he was called a doctor. He was known his entire life as doctor, but I was not anything to restrict on me. The reason Jesse Tom named Doc was because he said that was the only way you ever had a doctor in the family. So, seven my daughter will prove him wrong.
So if you guys don't have a day to spend some time with us, that reminds me of, we go to the mountains a lot, and they have a barbecue festival up there called the 53rd Annual Beach Mountain Barbecue Festival. My dad and I went up there, my dad was all excited. They said, no, this is only the 5th year, we just call it the 53rd Annual. That's the prestige. So, David Forrest, guys.
Yeah. All right, very good. And we'll be moving on now that we know David very well. On to just a reminder, please join the committee.
Email, our email address at Linda Monahan. Yes, we had a public image committee meeting last week, as well as a fundraising committee meeting last week to make plans. There's finance committee, there's membership, there's service committee. So let them know this is how we can get all of you involved. If you take quick email to Linda and say, I'd like to be on 1 or 2 committees, and then you'll be receiving committee emails about upcoming meetings. So that's just a reminder to do that, please. I did also want to mention at our last board meeting 2 weeks ago, as you know, we have our own foundation from which we get money every year, based primarily on interest and dividends that we accumulate throughout the year. And we don't do it all at once, we kind of take it throughout the year. But we did the foundation board chaired by Eric Carson. We did vote though to donate $2,000 to the Kicks Conservancy and the whole effort to develop Kicks Park. We have members who are very much involved in that. We'll hear more about that in another meeting. The boys and girls home of North Carolina near Lake Waccamaw. we will be donating $500. I will personally present that check when we go there for their open house day, because we helped fund one of their buildings some decades ago. And they had a meeting of all donors. And then we collaborated with the Carrie McGregor Club. They basically have adopted a school in rural Uganda, which needs help. And I'm not sure how they connected with it, but it started with basically just building a fence around the school so the teachers and students would not be eaten by the animals in the area. They would be protected, so they could have a safe space. Now they're completely redoing their trainings. They've all had a solar project there, so we were glad to collaborate with another club, and they're going to contribute to that. But if I'd like to know where your foundation money is going to, we'll report on that. With that, we turn to membership, and I'm going to share Harrison Turner. Harrison. You.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. It is absolutely fantastic. Once again, I think this is the third or fourth week in a row we've had to bring in additional chairs. The State of Rotary Club of Raleigh is healthy, and so glad that you all are here. We have a few things to take care of today with membership. First, Juicy is actually not going to be able to be here today. He's actually working out in South Carolina for the next couple of weeks, so we'll get his new badge in soon. That time of year in person. But first, I wanted to go ahead and get a first reading for Chuck Underwood. Chuck,
Later.
come on.
Yep.
Sorry, thank you so much. Chuck, you want to sit over here? For those, this is actually Chuck's first meeting. He's actually being sponsored by Mary Moss. So glad to have him part of this. A lot of you, I'm assuming, already know Chuck or have a connection with him. But just a quick bio on Chuck. He graduated from UNC in 1991 and was accepted to law school at Campbell Law. But while he was waiting to go into law school, he started working at his the printing
Family printing business.
family printing business that his father and uncle started, and never left. And as you've heard, he is now president of Metro Productions, dealing with all wide varieties of different media, from designing the print all the way to social and all that stuff, right? Correct. He has multiple different leadership positions that he's held over the years, from Boy Scouts, Ronald McDonald House, Jimmy V Celebratory Golf Classic, Ravens Crop School, and the Y Guys Guild. And he's also a member of First Baptist Church, and over the past 20 years, he's held positions for deacon, Sunday school teacher, and chaired multiple committees at that church. So you can hear that he has got a heart for his community and in Raleigh itself. But your biggest undertaking is a nonprofit that you started, which is Share It. Can you give a little idea of what that is?
Yes, I'll try to keep it brief. So, First Baptist Church partnered with North Carolina Baptist Men for a number of years. They would send teams down and build things. They build some school rooms, build houses. It's a great model and it works really well, but you would go every year, but then you would go back to a different place. You never go back to the same place. So I had done that 3 years, and we were on the way back, and a handful of us just felt like this worked, could use more help. We really wanted to like see what we could do there. And so 5 of us started talking. Couple went back to Honduras and asked this community, like, what would you like? How can we help you? And they said education. And so we started a little nonprofit that sponsored kids. It's rural Honduras. To be able to go to school, you have to afford your materials and uniforms, so that we had a lot of schools. So we started raising money, putting some kids in school. And so 13 years later, we have built a community center. We have built schools. We now have a middle school. That first year we were there were probably 3 or 4 kids that were in middle school, and then there were probably like 25. And so that's been really rewarding. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's my biggest contribution.
Small, yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you as a participant member and I think you've been with Rotary Club Raleigh. If you haven't had an opportunity to meet with Chuck, please connect with him after the meeting. Looking forward to having you here at our next meeting, which is the second meeting. But any questions on Chuck, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks so much. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. We also have the honor today of inducting Candace Lapping. She has been at several meetings, 3 or 4 meetings. It's been a joy to get to know her and hear her heart and connection with why she has a desire to join the Rotary Club. So today, Candace Lapping is sponsored by Richard Watkins. Candace, your membership application has been reviewed and approved in accordance with our club's constitution and bylaw. And we will now proceed in admitting you as membership to the Rotary Club of Raleigh and the friendship with Rotary throughout the world. There are a few questions for you, if I can answer it. Question number 1.
Hello, question number 1. Will you join us as we strive to live a life of service above you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, question number 2, will you join us in our activities for service projects and fundraising activities in support of our community?
Yes.
And will you join us in supporting Rotary's efforts worldwide, which focus on these 7 areas: promoting peace, disease prevention, providing clean water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, economic and community development, and protecting the environment?
Yes.
And fellow Rotarians, a question for you. Will you join me in fostering and supporting Candace as she joins us in pursuing our pursuit of adding value for our community through service to one's health? If so, please say, I will. With that, I have the honor of providing you with your Rotary students wear that as well as your new Rotary membership package. Here you go. Rotarians, if you please join me in. And to all guests today, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you see in today's meeting, just what our Rotary Club's all about in a small way. We have a lot of guests today. So, to committee, if you haven't joined a committee yet, I need a lot of help with membership. So please take care.
All right, thank you, Eric, and congratulations again. I'd like to, actually, before we get to service, call up the chair of our foundation, Eric Larson. Eric, for the presentation.
That's my co-chair and Brad. So Brad is joining the ranks of the Paul Harris, receiving the Paul Harris Fellowship today. He is joining the ranks of the Rotarians who have contributed at least $1,000 to our Rotary International Foundation. And we'd like to talk about the work that's being done by the Rotary International Foundation and by Rotarians around the world.
It's me and the big pony. Oh, wow.
And while we work on the mute button. I spent much of last week in Canada, so this was jumped out at me. This is about some Rotarians in an area in Oakville, Canada. 2 clubs got together and they wanted to do food packing like we do on Martin Luther King Day, packages of food. So they obtained 1,000 pounds of barley. And then the Rotarians worked together to put those into 1-pound bags, so 1,000 1-pound bags. And then they contributed those to a group called Global Medic. They go and provide medical and other kinds of services where there's needs. And there was an immediate need. This went to St. Vincent and to the Grenadines. And so people were able to eat. And as you heard Tom talk about, basic nutrition is one of our things, as well as health. So this is made possible by folks like Brad. So I asked Patty to go ahead and present us the certificate, just can. And as is our tradition, let's all rise and congratulate Brad.
Eric, if I may, Brad's sponsor, I just want to say this. He has not lost a hair on his head. Started to get great. I'm the one who said it. It's, Congratulations. Thank you, Brad. And we almost learned that in a few months. Yeah, this is great. Richard, Edgar, service chair, now, and talk about service. Yeah.
Thanks for the privilege of your time. We are at day 27 of the book drive to Wake Up and Read Pack Report. We're at 1,600 books collected. I see some books I see collected, and I understand Bob's got some books for me as well. It looks like we're going to catch that 1797 of it last year. Goal is 2,000. Caleb, I believe you're in the RTP club. Is that correct?
I'm not in.
Well, yeah, I think that there's an RTP Rotary Club who is collecting books for us as well, and I'm going to attend their meeting next week. So got an ace in the hole. So and like I said, I've got it's amazing. I've got stacks of Amazon boxes in my house where people send books from all over. And I can't tell you the disappointment on my children's faces when they don't get Amazon books, and these books aren't for them. It's like an itch you can't scratch, you know. Anyway, I really appreciate all the support we've been given. We're going to hit this goal. And I just want to get one more quick thing. Last week, there was a Wake County public school board meeting. And Wake Up and the Read was there, the recognition of 10th anniversary, and they gave our club a little shout out. They said that which more organizations like Rotary got involved, we would achieve that level of that, raising that third grade level. So thank you all. Thank you for your support of this wonderful program. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Our last slide we'll go through before we get to our speaker. So what we do every meeting. This week we don't have any anniversaries to report, but Bill McCoran, happy birthday on February 25th just passed. Mark Blake, 28th. Duncan Jennings, who oversees our website, March 3rd. And I want to pause here for a moment. Because we have one more birthday that I wanted to make special mention of. Because on March 4th, it's Surrey Roberts' birthday on March 4th, Surrey. And looking, I went onto our records and looked Surrey up just to, just to check his bio out on our directory. And this is Surrey's 46th year as a member of our club. And Charlie Upshaw is going to come up and just say a couple words about him.
How about that, sir? Happy birthday, sir. I had the pleasure on Monday morning to get a phone call from Sir Roberts. Hey, you going to record? Yes, sir. And so I enjoyed getting to know him. He was a little I know about Sir. He's born and raised in Durham, North Carolina. A graduate of UNC Chapel Hill undergrad, and a graduate of UNC Law School. And then he served his country. Law and then he went to serve his country in Vietnam. He served as a flight surgeon in 82nd Airborne Special Forces. He went to airborne school. Then he traveled the world into Australia, Afghanistan, around the world. And he loves UNC, hates Duke. Anything else I need to mention about the sir? If you want to go to Watkins, sir, call up and say, let's go to Watkins Grill down there. Certainly, we're glad to go with. So, happy birthday, sir.
Everybody, actually,
Thank you, Joe.
yeah, everybody is sing happy birthday to Surrey. I think he deserved it this year. And to Bill too. Oh, today, okay. Sorry. Happy birthday to Bill and to Surrey, okay? Happy birthday. Happy birthday. So, let me, you didn't know it, you're sorry. Let me introduce some today's speaker to you. You can tell, we have someone from the North Carolina Film Office, some data. And, Guy Gaster has been with the North Carolina Film Office for over 12 years. During which time he has seen production levels both drop to almost record lows, but also to record highs. A native North Carolinian, a guy who enjoys showing off his home state and helping producers from out of state discover all the great things about North Carolina, while also working hand in hand with the North Carolina Department of Commerce and state officials in a variety of areas, all related to the film and entertainment industry. Guy's the son of 2 high school educators. He resides in Raleigh and he's not promoting the state. He enjoys time supporting his niece and nephew and Guy. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here and appreciate the quality meal. So definitely a good location for this. All right, so the North Carolina Film Office, Sam will share a little bit about what our efforts are and how this industry is an economic driver within our state. So the North Carolina Film Office itself is part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. And a few years ago, the state legislature took a lot of the marketing functions that the state's Department of Commerce was doing, including the business recruitment, on our side, the film recruitment, and even tourism recruitment, and spun it into this public nonprofit 501c3. So we are part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. Our office overall has 2 people dedicated to film recruitment, plus an intern, again, working directly with the state. And then we collaborate with regional film commissions. Unfortunately, we've seen those numbers drop down. We used to have 6 regional film commissions. We're now down to 3, Wilmington, Charlotte, and the Piedmont Triad. However, those areas that aren't represented, such as the Research Triangle, our office helps pick up the slack and cover a lot of those bases as well. So a quick overview, the film industry as a whole is currently averaging since 2011, $216 million being spent in the state by productions. That does not have any sort of ripple effect. There's no multipliers added on. Those are direct figures from the productions. 5-6 of those are then verified as part of audits that are tied into state incentives that are helping make a difference in throughout North Carolina. I do want to say that this number is actually lower than where we had been 7 years ago, even 12 years ago when I first started. However, it is back on the rise, and you will see coming up. A few years ago, we had our best year ever with $460 million being spent in the state. So almost double what our average has been. And then last year was another year way over this number. So we're looking for it to continue to grow, and truly we'll probably be averaging around 300 million now that we're getting stable again. There are more than 3,500 film professionals in the state. That number is based on those that register to be part of our statewide directory that we share with projects that are looking to come in and are looking for those film professionals to help bring the project to life. We do have production taking place across North Carolina. It's not just Wilmington. I'm sure here you hear a lot about it, and you'll see it a little bit here, but there is production throughout the state. And our biggest assets, at least in the area that I'm involved in, are our 25% rebate, which is an incentive, our renowned crew base, and the variety of landscapes in North Carolina. So last year, we had over 90 projects that registered with the state film office. That resulted in more than 3,300 crew hires, 1,600 talent opportunities. Those are your main actors, if you will, and close to 13,000 extra opportunities. So if you're not familiar with extras, when you're watching your favorite show, if they go into the coffee shop and the 2 actors are carrying on, and then the lady behind them looks like she's just mouthing, "Mary had a little lamb," that's an extra. So, and more than likely she is mouthing, "Mary had a little lamb." because they don't make up something that they can just keep talking about. And then, because we are with the Department of Commerce and Economic Development, we do look at the state's prosperity zones. The state of North Carolina, if you're not familiar, is divided into 8 prosperity zones. Those are typically clusters of counties in the area. So here, exactly what you would think, you're part of the, they actually call it the central prosperity zone, but that is the Research Triangle area. And so we have had productions taking place last year in all 8 of those. So how are we doing so far this year? Even though we're just getting started, we've already had 12 major projects that have committed to the state. This number, all of these numbers, except for the number of projects, within 3 weeks are going to double. Because we've had a new series come in that is basically shooting 2 seasons back to back. And so looking forward to announcing that very soon with the state. But so far, about 500 new hires. The biggest thing, $36 million has already been committed to North Carolina. And we've had filming in 3 of the state's 8 prosperity zones. So here's how I mentioned, you can take a look at this economic impact. So what you're seeing now are millions of dollars spent by productions over since 2011 here in the state. Our greatest year was 2021, where we had $416 million. As you may recall, that was right after COVID-19, and as things started going up. So our industry as a whole saw a spike because just like everyone else, film stopped during the pandemic. And there was a great desire from the studios, from production companies, even from you as viewers wanting more content. And so there was a rush to get caught back up. So that resulted in our high. As I said, last year we were at 241 million. So again, a strong year, definitely not as strong as the 416, but we were seeing things going back on the rise. And then so far this year, 36 million. One thing that this chart does also help demonstrate is a little bit on, again, we're talking when the types of projects I'm recruiting are primarily your studio features, so your Disney projects, Warner Brothers, the types of things you might be watching on NBC or CBS in the evenings. So those are the shows that we're going after and trying to get to film here in North Carolina. So as such, our impact has been affected by our state incentive. So between 2011 and 2012, there were enhancements to strengthen the incentive, and it actually increased from at that time, it was a 15% to a 25% refundable tax credit. That program sunset or ended in 2015, and you'll see that there was an immediate drop at that time. The program was then kind of remodified, and 2019 definitely saw the rise once again, because we had reformulated a program. We're looking to be back on our feet. And then unfortunately, just like probably many of you were impacted, COVID came in 2020, which was setting up to be a banner year for us. And we still were able to end up eclipsing 100 million. I will say film was one of the industries that was able to get going very quickly. And part of the reason that the states, including North Carolina, were permitting filming to go forward was the amount of procedures and safety precautions that were taken while people were on film sets. So I don't know that industry that was maybe tested more than film workers were. They were doing daily tests to make sure to mitigate the spread of COVID, since they were in areas that would be at times very compact. All right, and I think remiss if I didn't say, I apologize. We're also talking job numbers here. When spending is up, the number of jobs are on. There typically is a slide that's here, but there's only a few exceptions. The year that the Hunger Games filmed in North Carolina, they needed thousands and thousands of extras. And so that year in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, no, 13, sorry, was when they filmed, but our job numbers that year are actually our highest ever because of the number of extras that were on the Hunger Games. So that was one time where it kind of bucked the trend. All right, so I mentioned our incentive, and I'd be remiss if I didn't share with you all about it because it is both my greatest toolkit, but also the bane of my existence, if we're being quite honest, because it is working with government, and I say that lovingly, being part of government, but I'm sure all of you, especially here in Raleigh, know it can get complicated at times. So in 2015, we transitioned to what the legislature called a grant program. This program has been modified 4 times since its introduction, and currently there is basically a hole put in the state budget of 31 million per fiscal year. One of the strong things that we've done here in one of those 4 modifications is we removed the sunset date. So what that essentially means is this program that is established with the legislature does not end it. And why that is a key marketing tool for me is that now I can go and talk to a series, let's say, Law and Order North Carolina unit, if they want to create that. That would be lovely. We could get 20+ years of Law and Order in North Carolina, but we can go now and talk to a studio, in this case, an NBC, and let them know that, yes, you can do Law and Order North Carolina for multiple years here in our state because this incentive is in place. It's going to take legislation to remove it. And so there is some certainty, about as much as certainty as we can provide within the industry. And finally, you might have heard me say the legislature calls it a grant. This is what is technically in the books, but we market the program as a rebate because that's how it actually works. We do not pay any funds up front like most grants do to a production. No, everything is a rebate and it's paid out to the production after they have done all of their spending in the state. They've paid all their the small businesses for which they've gotten their supplies. They paid all their payroll. They've had an audit done by a North Carolina licensed CPA, and the state of North Carolina also gets an advance screening, if you will, of the project just to make sure it doesn't violate any content rules that we have. So the biggest challenge that we have had, especially the last 4 years, is reminding folks in the industry that we still do have an incentive. When North Carolina changed from a refundable tax credit to our grant program, a lot of people saw that as North Carolina no longer had any incentive. That is not true. We still had an incentive. It started out small. Now we've grown it once again. Again, we rebate at 25% of what a production spends in our state. So just like I said, those monies do not have a ripple effect. This is what the production spend directly. So that's going to the flower shop. I don't know if you know, there's a nice flower shop right around the corner from you all here. This young lady got close to a 1/4 of her annual purchases done 2 years ago by the Fox series, Our Kind of People. They especially reached out to her because they had heard about her new startup and wanted to give her a chance to really get her footing under her. So that was something she was definitely not expecting at all or planning as part of her business model. So it's, again, flower shops, sign shops, trash, and porta potties are a major expense on a film set, believe it or not. And ice, those are 3 things that when I started getting involved in the industry, never would have guessed how many times or how much money production spend on porta potties, trash removal, and ice. But that is big business within this industry. Our awards are at the discretion of the Secretary of Commerce. So just because you qualify does not mean you automatically get this from the state. I mentioned that we have our annual starting allocation of $31 million. And there's no set deadlines. Some states have at the beginning of their fiscal year, each time they do a big call for applications, and then they go through and scan them. No. Our state has taken the approach that we are open for business year round, and as such, we take applications all the time. So when a project is ready to come to North Carolina, we're ready to go. And can go ahead and get started with the business, not have to wait on some arbitrary date. Okay, so I mentioned the qualifying spending that I support bodies and Florence. Again, goods purchased in North Carolina from North Carolina businesses, also services that are rendered here within the state. Those are what help qualify. The salaries paid to the crew, talent, and background extras. And we limit how much of their salary the state will include as part of that spend and a rebate on. So it's the first $1 million of each individual. I will say that the salaries part, when you're looking at budgets on production, salaries make up over 50% of the production's costs. So these are good paying jobs. They require a known skill. And at this level, these jobs not only are good paying, but they also have benefits associated with them. There are contributions towards retirement, health plans, all of that. So it's not just someone being hired as an independent contractor and coming and working for them. Again, fringe and per diem stipends qualify. The production must indicate in their end credits that it was made in North Carolina. And then again, none of this money is paid out by the state until an audit has been done and the production is responsible for that audit. So I've talked a lot and very quickly about some of our recruitment. Here are some of the projects that recently have filmed in the state that you may want to be on the lookout for or let your friends know about. The Judy Blume novel, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. They filmed her first feature film adaptation of any of her stories. Filmed in the greater Charlotte area. You'll be able to see Charlotte, Monroe, Annapolis, and Concord. I'm sorry, who's been to Concord? Anybody been downtown Concord? Did you buy that as New York City in the 1960s? The producers did, so we'll see how it shows up. Downtown Concord, portraying New York City. That comes out in April at the end of the month. We've also got the novel turned feature film, One True Loves, that will come out April 7th and then be available on Apple TV the following week, April 14th. If you're familiar with any of the actors, one of the main actors, Sammy Liu, was just in the Shang-Chi Marvel series. And then the lead actress there, she was one of the leads in the original Hamilton Broadway show. So we're excited to see that. Definitely some North Carolina sites to be seen. The Summer I Turned Pretty. This is one that I hope that my friends in the State Tourism Office continue to take advantage of. Season 2 of that series with Amazon coming out later in the summer. Then we have a comedy from the comic duo Please Don't Destroy. They're a writing team that has started writing with Saturday Night Live. They filmed a feature that included Burke County as well as around Charlotte. And then for those of you that have the guilty pleasures of reality television and binging on Netflix, I won't make you raise your hand, but The Ultimatum, Marry or Move On, has filmed an entire series in the state, and it will be coming out on Netflix, most likely the end of the year. So some other projects we've had that we're very excited about. Sundance Film Festival, a very prestigious festival, just took place in Utah in January, and a North Carolina project, A Little Prayer, was screened there. At the upcoming South by Southwest Film Festival, we have the story Angry Black Girl and the Monster. This is a modern day take on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Gotta be honest, this title has killed me because I think of Serena Williams every time I say it, and that's not fair. But I would say the story is much better than the title itself on that. And then again, guilty pleasures. How many of you do like Hallmark movies or have family members that do? Well, after many years trying to get it together, we have an upcoming Hallmark feature that will debut in November around Christmas time. The Hallmark's big Christmas countdown that took place at Biltmore, and it's called A Biltmore Christmas. And then locally here in the greater Raleigh area, we do have an interior design show, Tough Love with Hillary Farr, that is shooting several episodes. You might remember Hillary from the HGTV series Love It or List It. She was the female, obviously, with Hillary, but she was the interior designer, redid the houses. She has her own show now. She fell in love with being here in the Triangle during filming Love It or List It, and so is doing part of her new series here. So the last thing I want to share with you as we've gone through this very quick look at the North Carolina Film Office is when we talk about jobs, when we talk about people that are part of, that are film professionals, we're talking about more than just the actors, the directors, the camera people. These are all different departments on a film set that are part of that film community, those film professionals. Some of them might seem obvious, editors, script supervisors, set decorators, but I do want to also point out that we have a lot of things that might not come to mind when you think of the working on a film set, accountants. I've heard several of you mention insurance, but if you know anyone that's in accounting and does not want to have necessarily a desk job, our industry is dying to have more accountants. Please have them reach out. We will get to them on the set almost immediately, but all the purchasing that I talked about before, someone's got to oversee that. That's what the accountants do. There's a whole office team with productions that probably no one would think of that operates just like any other business that are helping them stay on budget, stay on time. Locations department. You see that it takes a team to secure an area for filming, both in beforehand, making sure they've got the permits, the proper permissions, during, making sure they don't destroy, especially if it's someone's home. Oh gosh, please don't break that window, take care of the hardwood floors there. And then that team also has to work on the back end of making sure to clean up, return it as it was, or 9 times out of 10 better than it was before. We also have PR teams, drivers, we need teachers on sets. So it takes a lot to make those TV shows, those movies that you're enjoying. And that's why if you stay through the entire movie or the whole show, that list of credits is showing all those professionals that help bring that project together. So I did want to share, I think we got time for our open up questions. We had a shoot take place down in Southport for a independent feature called Voice of Summer. And the producers wanted to share a little bit about their experience with our office. And so I'm going to give you a sneak peek.
The movie set in Martha's Vineyard, when we were trying to decide, shoot, I knew that a lot of movies and TV shot at Southport. It really has that charming New England vibe.
Just from a visual standpoint, it really matches Martha's Vineyard. You get that kind of beachy vibe.
I mean, it's a quiet community. Weather's perfect.
Beautiful beach, beautiful sunsets. I mean, how can you complain? From the moment we reach out to the film commission, they will roll out the red carpet. Anything we need is just a phone call away. And the crew has been amazing here.
The crew is top notch. We're never waiting on the crew, which is such a blessing and I've never experienced before. These are some of the best people in the business.
You can see their work in the footage and how it looks. I mean, it really does pass the eye test for any studio film because of their work. I cannot say enough about them. They are a true professional film crew.
I'm loving it here and I hope to shoot another project here because it has been just wonderful.
So again, that project's called Voice of Summer. It's a comedy, horror, Thriller, yes, I know, it sounds funny to throw those in, but, if you like Scream and there's some jump scares, but you're really like, did that really happen? What are we going to? But it's definitely worth looking out for. No dates yet on when that might be released. So I appreciate you letting me tell our story a little bit, here this afternoon, and happy to take any questions you may have.
Now, when you were talking about the rebates, I think I heard like you mentioned some sort of content requirement. There's not a wholesomeness test.
There's not a wholesomeness test per se, but there is. I'm sorry, we'll do the politician thing and say it both ways. There is what is called the harmful to minors content. And so we're looking at, the state will not make awards to projects that may try to appeal to minors through sexual content.
No R's?
No, again, it is looking at projects that would specifically have possibly minors as the main target market or minors as the main subject. So we do have our features that shoot here. We have some series that have some adult material, but it's more who is the intended audience, and or what age are the actors portraying. That's what we're kind of looking at for that.
Thank you.
Charlie.
State, compared to the state of Georgia, there's a lot of movies they can.
Yes. So Georgia, yes, Georgia's probably our biggest competitor, so much so that we almost don't include them. The biggest difference with Georgia and North Carolina right now is they have a transferable tax credit that has no caps whatsoever on their projects. They also, so in North Carolina, the most a feature film can get back to $7 million. A TV series is 15 million per season. In Georgia, it's whatever it ends up being. So that is one of the reasons you see so many Marvel movies. If you've seen those and why that Georgia Peach is at the end of them, Georgia just, I don't want to say it's a blank checkbook, but that's how they have operated. So, kudos to them on that. We've taken a little more fiscally conservative approach with how we were going to do this.
Anyone else? Oh, this is great. Let me reach in here and hand you a token of our appreciation for your excellent work. Thank you. I think I saw some of the cocaine bear. That was amazing. North Carolina.
However, there are some North Carolina ties to that, and there was an incident that's very similar to it. Yeah.
Everybody, 1:30 exactly. We'll do the 4-way test and we'll be on our ways. Please rise. Of the things we think, say, and do. Declare all concerned. Friendships. Will be all concerned.